Well, welcome everyone to this week's Menlo Midweek podcast. My name is Mark, and we have Rachelle Summers with us.
It's been a while, Mark.
It has been a while. I'm sorry for that.
No, that's okay. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you. No, thanks so much for being on. And my big master plan was to have you and Matt here together. But hey, in a healthy marriage, that's give and take. And Matt is off doing dad duties.
Yes. 1 week back at school, it was bound to happen with one child being sick already. So that's what happened. Yeah.
It's hard enough with one child and me working and Missy working part-time just to balance who has Micah when. And Missy's just been doing an amazing job of not putting so much pressure on me to...
Oh, she has.
Oh, she has, for sure. But like the amount of pressure I know she wants to give me is still kind of subdued. So
I was just saying she's doing a great job because she's on staff with me here at the Menlo Park campus, and it's so fun to see her and Micah around. But she just does a really great job of balancing so many things. And yeah, she's great. You're doing fine too, Mark.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Being a dad's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I described it as a kaleidoscope of like, sometimes it's beautiful and then it just rotates, whether I rotate it or Mike rotates it or something else, and it just looks all jumbled and weird, and then it gets beautiful again.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's just how it's been for the last almost a year now.
I like that. I have a question for you, but we'll get into that after you give us our sermon recap.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are in our second week of our Perfect series, where we are diving into all the ways in which our culture and everything about this world wants us to strive for perfection. Right. But God sees us in a different light and doesn't necessarily need that. And so in the second week, we looked at marriage specifically, with a little bit of caveat there, and just any relationship that someone might have. Of course, if you're not married, this is still applicable. There's still some great truths in here, and how we kind of circulate around these ideas that one of the biggest being that healthy marriages are often submission competitions.
Yes.
And that was kind of the primary driver of this message, where there's this theme of sacrifice and submission. And we know that submission is a loaded word that can be used to be weaponized and controlling. But the case that Phil was trying to make is that submission can also mean doing something for the good of someone else.
Right.
And so I know that, I don't know, when I first heard submission competitions, I was like, this is interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard it put this way, and it took me a little bit of time to come around to the idea. But what were your first, reactions when you heard this core concept of our message?
Well, I did like and appreciate that he gave kind of a heads up at the beginning too, of like, if you're in a bad relationship or an abusive relationship, like there's context for this. And I think that's really important to know when you're considering relationship advice or listening to a sermon like this. But yeah, I thought that line about submission was so great, because when you're in a relationship, you want to, of course, we're, human beings and we have our own wills, our own desires. But when you're in a relationship that you want to work, especially when you're married, it's putting the other first. That really matters. Yeah. And I like how he tied in how, Jesus really set that example for us. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. The idea that also marriage, in order to be married, a lot of people think about it as like completion, or like once I am married, then I'm whole, or like... I know you're a big Tom Cruise fan, so...
yeah, sure. I have to be honest. That reference really, lived up. That reference, I feel like, lived so well. Like, even my kids knew what that meant. They knew what that line was about, "You complete me." And that movie was so long ago.
Your kids are younger than they should be to know that reference.
I know. They've never seen the movie, obviously. But, yeah, it was just really funny. They don't know where it comes from, but they knew that line.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, but sidebar, not related to anything at all. Just fun fact. We received a new to us TV recently.
Nice.
And so Matt, of course, had to buy a new soundbar.
Oh, of course.
And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, or if when you've installed a new TV or soundbar, Matt has done this every single time. To test the sound and the TV, he immediately puts on Top Gun, Maverick, the new one. And it's like as loud as it can go. The whole house is shaking. you know.
Did he get a subwoofer too? Or
Yes.
oh, yeah, then your house is probably literally shaking.
Yeah. So it was just like, but every single time
Yep.
he's testing a new TV or new sound system, that's what he puts on.
I understand that. I was like, I'd always kind of do stuff with like car audio. So
Okay.
like in the cheaper cars that I would have, I would put like a nicer sound system in because the other ones were probably paper and sounded bad. And there were always a few songs that were on like the normal rotation where I knew how they sounded but wanted to compare.
Sure.
Always fun.
Yeah.
I don't think it's probably a guy thing, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. But then, like, you know, this idea of putting each other's needs before one another, you know, did we sit down and watch the rest of the movie at some point? Absolutely. Because I knew that he would enjoy it. And it was fun to hear the new sounds anyway.
That's great. I thought you were going to say, did he consult me about getting the soundbar and TV before it happened? No.
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's not something that I felt like I needed to be consulted
Sure.
on. That is totally his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I don't need to know any of those things. I'm glad it's there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with, you know, we talked about kind of this concept of how God's vision prioritizes covenant as opposed to individuality. And sometimes a cultural version of what marriage looks like is we're married, but I get to do my things. You get to do your things.
Right.
This is 50-50.
Yeah.
And if you don't budge on your 50%, then we're good because I'm not going
Yeah.
to budge on my 50%.
Right.
And how God wants to completely rewrite that. I thought that was a great approach to marriage and how he even kind of shared a really kind of soft example of how there have been seasons in his life, whether he was dealing with grief and loss or overwork, of where Alyssa, his wife, had to kind of pick up some of that slack. He said that she did it willingly and happily and how he's done it for her. And
Right.
I think that's just a great and beautiful approach on as we're thinking about what makes marriage true and the
Right.
version of God's marriage that he wants us to have, where it's not this contractual 50-50%, but it's
Right.
a true union of, no, we're both on the same percent now.
Yeah, because there's ebbs and flows in life, right? And so to carry one another's burdens through those changes,
Yeah.
you know, if you're only holding your 50% and expecting someone else to carry that 50%, you're not going to be able to help one another or support one another in a gracious way. And so it's really important to find that alignment. I would say Matt and I, we've been married we'll be married 16 years. And we got married. I was 22 when we got married. Very, very young. And, you know, I don't think we had this idea that we completed one another. But I think it took some time to understand how do we verbalize what our needs are and support one another even when the other person isn't verbalizing that.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when people are looking for a relationship, they think they want to find the perfect person and they want to check off their boxes of like, you know, reads the books that I like or wants to go hiking or, you know, they have all this list of all the qualities they're looking for in someone. And I think we forget that like really God is calling us as Christians to become the right person, not to just look for the right person, you know. And I think your marriage or any relationship that you have, whether it's with your siblings or friendship, like the more you work on becoming the person God is calling you to be, the more your relationship will thrive, I think. That's not without issues, of course. But yeah, just becoming the right person and not just always looking for the right person.
Absolutely. And I would probably wager that you and Matt were different people 16 years ago than you are now.
Oh my gosh. In a lot of ways, yes.
I'm sure there's still core things that make you.
Yeah.
But yeah, 16 years of marriage, I would hope that you two are not static people,
Right.
but you both have grown.
Yeah.
And so, yes, even if we came into this 16 years ago thinking, okay, like I know this person and I love them, 16 years later, now we're different people.
Right.
If there wasn't growth together along there, then there
Yes.
can be fractured relationship.
Yeah. And that can be jarring too of like, hey, you changed.
Yeah.
Did I change?
Right.
Did I change? Did you change?
Yeah.
And so just staying close to God in your own life and then together, I think really, really makes a difference when those things happen.
Yeah. When you first got married,
Okay.
I think this is like I was thinking about because Missy and I, we've obviously, since having Micah, we've thought about kids, what that looks like. That's kind of retransformed how we're seeing this world. Her idea of having kids is based off of the family that she grew up in. She had 3 brothers, both all half brothers. I had 1 brother. So my ideal family would be 2 kids. Her ideal family would be 4 kids. And so, okay, let's talk about that. And we bring that same kind of concept too into marriage. So, yes, I'm curious for you, were there a lot of similarities or differences in how Matt's, his view of marriage growing up was shaped and how yours was? And were those at odds with each other when you first were married, or how did that process work out?
That's a really good question. I would say yes. I mean, we did premarital counseling for like 8 weeks before we got married, but you don't know what you don't know until it's happening. Like
for sure.
We had never lived with one another. And, so we definitely, and Phil touched on family systems a little bit in the first week of this series. So yeah, of course we carried what we grew up with into our marriage. And I would say probably in the last 5 years, the most have we recognized that and worked on that. Which, leads me to talk about the leave and cleave part of the sermon, how God calls us to leave our family of origin, or at least that's what he did with Adam and Eve, and to leave when they left the garden. But anyway, we were raised on Long Island and lived there for all our lives until we moved out here. And basically every Sunday we did family meals with his parents or my parents. We did every single holiday together. We were just around each other all the time. And it was great. And we have wonderful memories with our families. And I'm so grateful for that. But I don't think we would have grown and become the people we are today had we not left. And I think while I love my parents and Matt's parents and all our siblings, I think there is some truth to this part of like leaving and cleaving and how my family, when I say my family now, it's me, it's Matt, and my 3 kids. Like that's my family. And they are our priority. And I think sometimes we don't always realize how important that could be. So how has that been for you and Missy?
It's been interesting because I think just how we were raised, we all had relatively nice upbringings. Her mom and her dad helped raise her 3 half brothers and her, and so there's always complexity with a blended family that I'll just never really understand. Coming from my mom and dad were high school sweethearts and were married and had me and my brother. And so it was really interesting because coming into it, I knew that I had to ask questions and be open to kind of what she was feeling and what her just modeling of what parenting looked like. And what marriage looked like. And so we also did premarital counseling. We did it through Menlo. It was pretty great. Shout out Bruce and Vicky that were up at South City.
Nice.
I don't know if they're still at San Mateo or not. I think they might have moved away. But that was really eye-opening because it got down to the things where I thought that we would be compatible on and see things the same way. And we're like, oh, actually, no, we are very different in this. Help me understand why. And then once we started talking about it, it's like, oh, the differences isn't as vast as I thought it was. It was more so just a different way of seeing the same thing. And so I think just like that curiosity to being open to understanding and asking questions first was helpful. Did I always do that? No.
When you said, help me to understand why, I don't think I used those words until much later in our marriage.
Wait, what? There was a lot of that first. And I'm still not great at it, to be honest. But I think just now being a little bit more open to there's so many different ways in which our upbringing affects Missy and myself. It's just like, okay, we've really had to examine that with how are we going to raise Micah? And so that's opened up this can of like, oh, well, what other things do we still need to further explore? And similar to you, I would think like, a little bit late. We're not married for 16 years. We're married for 7. Yeah, nailed that. 6 going on 7.
Wonderful.
Of just, okay, like what other, what ways are we still learning and growing with each other? Because we are, even 5 years ago, I feel like we're different people and different versions. And so.
And Micah's going to be 1.
Micah's going to be 1.
And so like.
In 13 days.
You went through 9 months of pregnancy. Missy was pregnant for 9 months. Early stages of newborn, like a whole year. how has raising a small child, affected your marriage too?
For sure. I feel like it's a pressure cooker of the good and the bad.
Right.
And now more than ever, it's like, it's so sweet. But also it's just like, okay, like it really takes a lot of work to not split 50-50. Because for us, like, there is some ways, and I'm sure this is helpful for some people, of like divvying out parental responsibilities just so there's some order amongst the chaos.
Right.
But am I holding it against Missy if I had to do 3 diapers instead of 2 today?
Sure.
I try my best not to.
Yes.
Because I'm sure she's done 7 and hasn't told me.
Right.
But yes, it's like learning to not keep score. Like kind of how Phil ended his message was saying like, hey, how can I serve you?
Yeah.
What can I do? And I'm just going to do those things. No questions asked. But then also like, how can I posture myself to always have that perspective of, I want to make her life great.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like in the context of having an 11-month-old?
Right.
Because even that's different than a 10-month-old and a 9-month-old, right?
Sure.
And so it's, for me, like right now, more than ever, a constant learning process of how can I serve Missy? Because that looks so much different from when she couldn't really walk super well after she, 9 months ago or 10 months ago until now. And so, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And communication is key in any relationship,
Absolutely.
right? Is just being honest and vulnerable with the right person, with the person who you can trust the most, right? And making your needs known takes a lot of courage. I think, and different personalities too. Like I don't even always know what I want or what I need. In the last year or two, Matt has started asking me a couple mornings a week of like, how can I pray for you today? Or what are some things that I can help you with today? And I am not a morning person, and he is very much a morning person. And so when he wants to ask me that at like 7 a.m, when I'm like opening my eyes and having my first cup of coffee, I'm like, I don't want your prayer. Not really,
great.
but
Oh my
I've
God.
learned to say like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind at the moment. Just love me as I am.
Talk to me after my second cup, bud.
Sure. Yeah. But then if I think of something later, I just appreciate that he's opened that door for me to even voice what my needs are or how he could be praying for me. So
That's so good. Yeah, I've become, and I think that's great for any relationship as well. Like spouse aside, like doing an audit of your closest relationships and saying, hey, how can I help you today? How can I help you this week? Let's check in. How's everyone really doing? Like that's huge. And so Macy and I will try to do that because we're so easily sucked into all we think about is parenting now.
yes.
That like it actually takes work to have a relationship, which is not something I was expecting. I knew everyone said it was going to happen, but I'm like, nah, not us. But like, yeah, it actually is kind of us.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's good and it's beautiful
It
and
is.
it's joyful and you want to embrace that time and in those moments. But yeah, you still have to work on your relationship.
For sure. So when we think about, a submission competition, when I think about the practical aspects of that can look like asking for prayer. That could look like me changing extra diapers. For someone with older kids, what does that look like for you?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, more for us right now with 2 teenage daughters and a preteen son.
Does that feel weird to say?
Yes, for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so weird. Also considering like Soraya is going to be 16 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's a different podcast.
Yep.
And I don't want to cry. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, what does that look like, the submission competition with older kids? It's like, okay, are you going to stay up till 10 or 11 to go pick them up from wherever they are, or am I? Are you going to go to bed, or am I?
Yeah.
Rotating, trying to get quality time with them and keeping each other accountable for that. Having intentional conversations with them, but then also like being on the same page of how we're parenting. You want to be on the same page about parenting from the beginning, but you don't know what you don't know until you go through it. And in the early days, it's like figuring out sleep schedules and who changes diapers or who goes to the doctor appointments or whatever. And just as they get older, it's the same, just different circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think raising teenagers, they don't want to need us as much. They want to be independent, but I think they need us a lot more. Like when they're babies, they need us to survive, right?
Yeah.
When they're teenagers, they really need us to help them learn how to deal with the world around them. And Matt and I really need to work on knowing that we're on the same page with a lot of different issues. We are, I think, at heart, but to not talk about it would be, we might just not have the right conversations with our daughters at different times. So, yeah.
Interesting. I want to dig in on that, but I have another question that I think would be better to ask.
Sure.
Your daughters want autonomy. Culture is saying to everyone, your autonomy matters. That's kind of what we're all obsessing about, is how can I take control? How can I have the perfect life? How can I have the perfect relationship, the perfect marriages? And so when we think about this idea of kind of pushing against that, I'm curious for you about what is God's heart in submission? What is God's heart in what it means to give up autonomy, the thing that culture says this is the thing that you should crave the most almost, and say, God, I'm giving my autonomy to you. It's a huge question. I was thinking about this a little bit because we were in the green room, which is kind of the area aside from stage before our 10 o'clock service, and we were walking through the service with the team, and I was kind of giving a run through of what we were all going to do, and then at the end I was kind of praying, and I said something where I was just like, I need to come back to this and actually think if this is true or not, and it was like God wants our perfection. And then I in the prayer, I was like, I'm gonna circle back on that. and so what I've kind of pondered is that God wants us to pursue doing our best, but most of all, he wants us to pursue him and give us his heart, or give our heart to him. If perfection comes in that intersection, which it will never, but if it does, great. But that's not the goal. The goal is the posture of giving up ourselves, our wants, our needs to him. So that's kind of what I circled around when I thought about this idea of wow, culture wants me to hold on to control, hold on to my life, plan everything out. That's just kind of one way that I split that. I'm curious for you, when you think about this idea of control and autonomy, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having conversations with our oldest about SATs and ACTs and prepping for college and trying to influence without putting pressure on her.
Yeah, it's got to be hard.
Okay. And so I don't want the pressure to ever be more the thing that she remembers or feels more than me loving her. And I feel like that's God's heart too, right? Yeah. Is that God wants us to see Jesus, to see the life of Jesus, and do our best to live by that example with grace and patience and kindness and love. And to remember that more than the rules that were set before. Does that make sense? So, I just feel like, how can I, and I fail at it all the time, right? There are nights when I'm like, oh man, wish I didn't say this. I wish I'd said this differently. But that's what grace is for. And
So Rachelle, as someone that is helping pastor our Menlo Park community, what would be your hope for someone that this week, for them to, I'm going to cling to this principle of helping this shape my friendships, my roommates, maybe my marriage, of this idea of I'm going to help be a person that isn't fully focused on myself, but willing to serve someone else. What do you think would happen to the community if we all did this? What would it look like if, what's a step that someone could take? How do you encourage, the community to be I think I might try that this week?
Well, there's a few great events that are coming up within our church. Yep. We have community conversations that are happening at our Saratoga campus. I feel terrible that I can't remember exactly the topic, and I don't have the internet. But I don't remember the...
It is on marriage.
It is on marriage, and I feel like if you were inspired by this sermon, if you heard this sermon and you thought, man, I really want to lean into... submitting more to God, to my spouse, to my friends.
Yep.
This would be a great conversation for you at Saratoga.
It is.
We have the Alpha Marriage course coming up in February. Matt and I did the Alpha Marriage course 5 years ago during the pandemic with Menlo, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, Missy and I did the same thing. It's like it's one of the top things that I would recommend people doing.
Yes, 100%. No matter how many years you've been married, no matter if this is your second, third, or fourth marriage, if you're thinking about getting married, like you're in a committed relationship, engaged, highly, highly recommend signing up for the Alpha Marriage course that we're going to be having in February. It's all online. It's 5 or 7 weeks long. We have a great couple who are going to be hosting. It's super simple, but man, what an encouragement. It's like this sermon brought to life.
Yes.
It's
great. I think there are very few things, and this is from a lot of years of experience in online ministry, of things that work better online than they do in person.
Oh, yeah.
This is 100% one of those things.
100%.
Because you don't want to be in the same room across the table from someone as you and your spouse are talking about like certain things that will come up in these conversations. But to have guided conversations and to have, you get to see everyone that's going, if the format's the same, like it's all online. So you see a large group of friends and couples that might be similar in age and stage or whatever else that you can go grab coffee with at another time. But then for all of the video content, the discussion time, that's all just you and your spouse.
Yes.
In the privacy of your own home or wherever you choose to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like one of the things that has been core in shaping out. And I'd recommend anyone, like you said, to do it, especially if you're younger in marriage.
Yeah.
Like Missy and I were. We did it, I think, the first or second year. And it was uniquely helpful because we were able to get on the same page with everything right away as opposed to maybe waiting a bit or whatever else. And so, yes.
And we were 10 years in and felt very
Still
similarly.
super helpful.
Yeah. It was really beautiful.
Awesome.
Just a short story about it. When we were doing it, there was a couple who were engaged, who Matt later officiated their wedding. Then he dedicated their baby like 2 years later. And I just love that. And that form of community can still happen online. And I think that's really great as well, of like really something like this. It takes people to have relationship and trust in God and to build relationship with each other. You need to have people in your life. When you're married, you need to have trusted mentors. You need to have trusted friends to talk to. And it's not to complain about your spouse, but say like, hey, I'm struggling with this. How do I grow in this area?
Definitely. And it's things that if I was to talk to someone in my immediate circle that hasn't been married for very long, like we're all going to have maybe similar answers, but to talk to you, I'd get a completely different perspective.
Sure.
And then to talk to, someone that's way more senior, I'm thinking of a few people that are at the Menlo Park campus that have been married for probably more years than I've been alive.
Yeah.
Their perspective would be different as well. And so, the idea of coming around and choosing to continually work to make something keep working.
Yeah. You mentioned marriage mentors. How do people find what marriage mentors are at Menlo?
Yeah. There's a few different ways. You can go to menlo.church/connect. There's a link there. And then there's a care portion of our website as well that has links to different kinds of services, whether that's mental health services or in this case, premarital mentoring, any kind of resourcing like that as well. Monty Fisher helps out with a lot of that from the Menlo Park campus. And we did premarital mentoring as well before we got married through Menlo. It was back in 2016, I want to say. And it was super helpful.
Nice.
Super, super helpful. But
awesome.
Those are great, tangible steps, Rachelle. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on. We'll be praying for Matt as well.
Yeah.
But yes, it's always a joy and a pleasure to have you. Thank you for caring for our Menlo Park community so well and just for being awesome.
Thank you.
You're making a huge difference and it's great. So thank you so much. If you need any prayer or encouragement this week, anyone listening, you text our team at 650-600-0402. Any of the resources, links, things we've talked about, message that number and say, hey, I want to hear more, or go to menlo.church/connect and it's all there for you. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you soon.